Hi, friends. So I meant to do this on the weekend, but I was too tired. So now you get to unbox with me. So I've never done this before, but I was gifted this very beautiful tarot deck by a lovely friend who is the creator of this, Jia Sung. It's called a Trickster's Journey Tarot. And as you can see, the artwork is absolutely amazing. And so I'm like so excited to actually open this. Hold on, my lipstick. It's not on my tooth good. I should have checked that before I went live, but alas, I did not. So I'm so excited to open this and see what it's like. The box is like stunning. So as you can tell, it's kind of like a pretty hefty, heavy-duty box. The illustrations on the sides are really lovely. I really like this like patterning here. And so let's see. So it kind of opens like this. It seems like it's magnet opened and it has this. Ooh, this is so cute. Oh my God. So it comes with a little book. This is so cute. And I'm really loving like how this book is. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's like got a little lip on the sides, which personally I really love. It's not just like fully flat. Cute. So the tarot deck is called the Trickster's Journey. As you can see, the artwork is like very watercolory. So let's take a look at what some of the book looks like. Let's see, there's images of the cards, which I have not opened yet. But this honestly looks really beautiful. Yeah, this looks really stunning. And my cat agrees, apparently. Really, really beautiful design, which I really love. And I actually really like that the illustrations are like by themselves in the page. It's not like, okay, here's the card and it's like cut out in a little rectangle. Let's see. So personally, I hate the Celtic cross. But here's the Celtic cross. It's like the beginner tarot like spread, but I personally think it's like useless. But anyway, so there it is. I think most tarot books include that, but I don't read with crosses. I can't fuck with that. But this looks pretty interesting. There's a little chart here about some themes. As you know, I don't believe in charts with themes, but whatever, it's okay. We all are going to do our own thing. So since I do have a tarot course, like I tend to not believe in the tarot book, but if I do get a deck that is designed by somebody, like illustrated by someone, designed by someone, like I do appreciate the books because it gives their perspective on the deck that they created. Like that can be kind of fun. If you already have a good understanding of the tarot, like if your baseline, if your knowledge is already up to a certain point, then it makes sense to dive into decks like this that are clearly kind of doing their own thing, which I really dig. So anyway, this is the book. Super cute. If you guys want to see any particular card, let me know if there's anyone watching this. And so then the book, like, is this little pocket where the book was. And then now here is the deck. And it's like this kind of like pseudo velvet vibe. So let's see, that slid out really nice. And it's just the box. I don't know what people want to see in an unboxing. I've never really done this, but you can kind of see that the deck fits in here really nice. And then the book has like its own little thing. So if you wanted to store this together on the shelf, like you probably could just keep the box, which is like really cute. So here is the deck box, tiny box. It's really cute. So let's see if we can open this. Oh my God. Okay, let's see. Ooh, it's a pretty blue color. I like that. Like I love those kind of design details. It's really beautiful. Okay, so let me see if I can open this. It's like one benefit of having long nails. Okay. You can kind of just like stick your nail into the plastic. Let's see. I don't want to break my nail. Okay. So I know there's at least one person viewing. So if you have a card that you want to see in the deck, let me know. So it starts off with the Trickster as the Fool, so that makes sense. So the tarot is known as the Fool's Journey, so it makes sense that within this particular understanding, and I actually don't know if this is supposed to be this dirty or if I just got a version that is dirty. So there's like this kind of black like weirdness up here. And so, yeah, I don't think that's supposed to be part of the design. I think that's a printing error maybe. Oh yeah, so you can see I can kind of wipe it. So I don't know why that is there or what this is. It's like all in my hands now. Oh no. So I don't know what that is, but now my hands are dirty. But anyway, so it's not really, okay, yeah. Let me see if I can wipe it off the front. So now you can kind of see that. So I guess all of that black, I don't know what the hell that is. Oh, it must have been from the velvet or whatever that is, the inside. Okay, that makes sense. So I was trying to like get all that shit off my hands. Okay, cool. So it makes sense that this is the Trickster's Journey. If this deck, I'm assuming the designer is thinking about it. The Trickster is kind of the Fool. It's a different way of framing the Fool, so that makes sense. As the tarot is seen as the Fool's Journey. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that before. The Major Arcana in particular is thought to be the Fool's Journey. So it's the Fool's card 0, the journey through all the lessons of the ups and downs of the Major Arcana. And so I suppose within the framework of this deck, that is the Trickster. We also see that here. And so I guess the Trickster is this cute little monkey, which is kind of adorable. Ooh, okay, so someone is asking to see the Death card in the moon. So let's go through the Major Arcana. And let's see, so there's the Trickster, card 0, aka the Fool. This is pretty fun. I like this. Some interesting, maybe symbolism with the shadow there and the sun, so that's kind of intriguing. Next card is the Magician. And so I can already kind of tell that, and I'm sure there's a lot of cultural symbolism here that I don't understand, as I think, I don't know if this is a little bit like Chinese mythology or folklore or culture. I actually don't know. Okay, yes, so let's read this. So, introduction, The Fool and the Trickster. Journey to the West, a 16th century novel attributed to Wu Cheng'en, is one of the most beloved and often retold stories from the Chinese literary canon. At once a comedic travelogue, a spiked send-up of bureaucracy and authority, and a religious allegory, the novel's fantastical take on the historical journey of the real-life Tang Dynasty monk, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this properly, Huanzang popularized the Monkey King. So I apologize to any of my Chinese speakers here that are going to be like, you fucked that up. I know. A folk hero and trickster figure whose origins and exploits dominate the first section of the book. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, I actually want to read this to you guys so you can see like what the vibe is of this deck. So, born of a magic stone, the Monkey King, also known as Sun Wukong, quickly rises to the rank of ruler over his fellow monkey brethren, masters Taoist martial arts, swindles the Dragon Kings, and wreaks havoc in heaven. As punishment, Buddha traps Sun Wukong under a mountain where he remains for 500 years before he is finally freed when he elects to accompany, oh my god, I don't know how to pronounce X's in Chinese. Like, I probably should have Googled this before I did this, like, unboxing. So I'm going to pretend that says, I don't know, Xuanzang? I don't know, on his journey to the West. So my apologies, I'm doing my best. Trickster's Journey is a tarot deck that draws from Journey to the West, Chinese mythology, and Buddhist iconography to reimagine the story of enlightenment symbolized in tarot. The journey is represented in both Journey to the West and the structure of the tarot closely mirror each other. The respective protagonist figures of the monkey and the fool undergo a rich sequence of experiences, struggle, ego death, wanderings, and wonderings, which lead them to revelation and completion. Cool. A key change to tradition in this deck is the renaming of card 0, the protagonist in the deck's symbolic journey from fool to trickster. After all, a trickster may be a fool, but a fool is not always a trickster, it's true. For the trickster contains multitudes, the capacity for many faces and many traits, idiocy and wisdom, detachment and devotion, wit and somberness is what sets them apart from other monsters. Oh, that was cute. Striving for evolution. It is what aligns the trickster with humanity. A trickster is liminal and ambiguous, but always ultimately sympathetic. We see echoes of ourselves in the complex contradictions of the trickster, moments of short-sightedness and impulse that coexist. Decide. Ingenuity and wet. Okay, so this kind of goes on, and I am actually really excited to read this. And this is actually why I really love, like, when someone creates a deck, like when they give you like the full story of like their own journey with the cards, like what their intention is, what their ideas are. And crucially with this, at least for me as an outsider to Chinese culture and Chinese mythology, like I don't actually know that much about that. So it's really cool to see that written out here in this book. And I'm really excited to read this just so I can better understand the symbolism and the mythology and the references in this deck. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, it's interesting because like I'll be able to read this deck no problem, drawing upon my knowledge of the tarot as a tarot teacher, a tarot expert, someone who's been reading tarot for more than 20 years. So I'll be able to read this no problem, like with that baseline understanding. But I'm also really curious to see, and like going through this book, oh my God, cattail, to see the intentions behind like how is the Western tarot being kind of merged together with some of this Chinese mythology and Chinese storytelling. Like I think that's pretty cool. So I'm really excited to give this like an actual in-depth read and see what the intentions were behind, you know, the different changes that were made, the interpretations, like how there's different characters here that I'm not going to recognize since I don't know anything about Chinese mythology really, other than like the Chinese zodiacs. I don't really know too much about this story of the monkey or this monk who's doing his thing. And so I'm pretty excited to see this merging of different cultures and different ideas. So let's see. Yeah, this is really cool. And so okay, actually what's really cool here is there's a little section with each, at the bottom of each card description in the book. Oh my God, my cat is gonna like push this box off of the table. Please don't do that. And it says about the art. So for instance, magician. About the art, Monkey's first mentor, and I'll show you guys. Monkey's first mentor on their journey is an accomplished Taoist who, along with the gift of a new name, Sun Wukong, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, instructs them in magical and spiritual knowledge. The magician sits surrounded by flowering boughs, symbolizing this intellectual blossoming. Cool. And so I'm actually stoked to see how the creator here merged this symbolism from this story and the Chinese storytelling, the Chinese folklore and mythology, and merging that with an understanding of the tarot, which is obviously from the West, and the mythology of the tarot is from the West. So, oh my God, I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that. There's like a little beep. Oh no. But let's just go through all these cards. So the High Priestess, I'm really curious what that's going to be about. The Empress. Cool. Emperor. Hierophant. Lovers. I just want to show you guys the back of these cards. Really beautiful. I love that patterning. The Chariot. This is awesome. I love this one. It's badass. I love this. The Chariot. Super cool. I don't know if you guys can see, but my little cat is hanging out. She's holding my hand. That's so cute. Anyway, as I'm holding the hand of my cat, I'm going to go through the rest of the cards. So that's really beautiful. Strength. This is cool. And it's interesting to see this as a tiger as opposed to a lion. And same with these actually. So I'm kind of excited to look into the animal symbolism in the Chinese mythology because I actually don't know too much about that, but clearly tigers is going to be a bit of a theme here. So that'll be kind of cool. A hermit. And the art is just really lovely. The wheel, and it's just called the wheel, not the Wheel of Fortune. I just want to take a bit of a look here. So I have no idea what's going on in this card because I don't really know anything about the story that she's drawing from, but really lovely art. And like, it's a really limited palette, which I actually really like. There's a lot of kind of rich magentas, pastel pinks, pastel blue, and then these rich navies. Justice. Really, really lovely. And I don't know if you can see, but some of the artwork is really quite delicate. Like, really beautiful. The Hanged one. Beautiful. And then I think someone requested the Death card. So here's the Death card. Lovely. It's really beautiful. Temperance, and we see a parrot. I don't really know what the symbolism of that is, but I'm excited to find out. The Devil. Pretty cool. Ooh, the Tower. I'm excited to read in the booklet what this is representing. Beautiful. The Star. The Moon. And this is one of those ones where, honestly, like I'm going to have to look at what her intention was if I want to understand the visual symbolism, because a lot of these do seem so specific to the story that the creator is talking about as being the main inspo for this deck. So since I don't have that understanding of what do like rabbits mean in Chinese folklore and mythology, what do deers mean, like who is this guy, like what's the deal, I'm gonna have to like I'll be able to read with this just as a baseline, but I think in order to get the full breadth of understanding of what does this deck actually mean, what is it actually trying to say, I do think this is going to be one of those ones like where we're going to have to read the book. And this is my cat. She's so sweet. She's just hanging out. Just so cute. So next up we have the Sun. And again, I'm like, who is this guy? What's he doing? I don't know. Judgment. This is Buddha chilling. Very interesting. The world. And so you see this Return of the Monkey. Pretty cool. And so I'm not going to show every single card from the deck, but I do want to show at least like what the vibe is for each suit. So let's do that. So let me just separate these out. And it looks like each suit, sorry, my cat's headbutting the computer. Each suit seems to have its own color scheme. So the Major Arcana had this kind of like red and blue color scheme. Oops. And it seems like Cups. Let me just separate these out. So it seems like Cups has this like green and gray kind of color scheme. Yeah, and someone in the chat is saying, beautiful cards, truly not a deck for beginners. There's a lot of symbolism that we are not familiar with in the Western world. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and I just opened this box right now, so I haven't really had a chance to go through it. But I feel like this deck would probably be good for someone who does come from a Chinese background or an Asian background, but specifically Chinese background, who, you know, they might, maybe if they don't relate to the Rider-Waite-Smith. And to be honest, I do think every tarot reader should get familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith because, like it or not, the tarot is a Western thing. The symbolism of the tarot comes from the West, like that is a fact. like deal with it. And so I think learning that Rider-Waite-Smith, learning those original intentions behind the cards, learning like what is the symbolism behind all the different suits, like why are there 4 suits, what's the deal, like learning all that stuff is crucial, I believe, regardless of what your cultural background is. So I think everyone should have that Rider-Waite-Smith as a baseline. But and like once you do have that, let's say you do come from like a Chinese background and you're like, you know what, I want a deck that speaks a bit more to my cultural references, the cultural stories and folklore and mythology that's important to me. It looks like this would be a really, really great deck for those folks, or even anyone who is an advanced reader who is looking to see tarot through a different lens and through a new light in a way that looks pretty creative and intelligent, which I really love to see. That like innovation within this space is unfortunately not as common as I would like it to be. So this deck just looks really beautiful and innovative, which I really like. And so let's just take a look here. So let's start with the cups. So the cups seem to have this like green gray color scheme. And so let's see what we got. Oops. So let me just try to show you some. 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups. And so this is a pretty common thing. And I'm going to have to read through the book and see what the intention is here. But it is very true that usually artists will put a little bit more attention into illustrating the major arcana than the minor arcana. And so this actually does look a bit like not full-on Marseille style of minor arcana, because the Marseille style of minor arcana is just literally like the 4 cups in a, pattern. That's it. And so that's why the Marseille can be a little bit more challenging, especially for newer readers, because there isn't like a lot to really go off of in terms of just like the visual symbolism. And so this does seem like a Marseille style of minor arcana. And so, like it or not, it's like I'm really wishing that that the minor arcanas were more fully illustrated, like as a scene or, relating it to a scene from the mythology. That being said, the artist might have a reason for keeping these Marseille style of minors. So I'm really curious to read what that's going to be in the book. And actually, if anyone wants to shout out a minor arcana, we can look at the about the art section in the book and see if it has anything to say. And that might be answered in the mythology, who knows. But to me, so far, this does seem like a Marseille style kind of, it's like kind of like a new style Marseille. Because it's like, for instance, like this 8 of Cups. It's like, yeah, there's 8 cups. And there's a little froggy. And so if you don't know shit about the tarot, this is going to be impossible to read. Like you're going to pull this and you're going to be like, what the fuck does that mean? And so again, that baseline is crucial. And you know what, like even as a reader who is very experienced, like I look at this and I'm like, I'm going to have to take a minute to like see how does this relate to the typical 8 of Cups meaning. Yeah, it's interesting. Because I wouldn't really associate that on first glance with a typical interpretation. This is beautiful, but I love turtles. So, and it's interesting. Yeah, so it looks like the cups are kind of these reptiles, turtles, snakes. Ooh, I love this. This is beautiful. Beautiful. And so I'm sure each of these little dudes are figures that have some kind of relevance or meaning. But you know what? Let's pick the 10 of Cups. I want to see what it says in the book. Okay, 10 of Cups. So it says about the art, and I'll show you guys as I'm reading this. About the art, a red-eared terrapin sits among its brood of egg-shaped cups. Her children will hatch to sunbathe and swim together in their pond home. Interesting. And so that being said, like I still do consider this a Marseille style of minor arcana. And so do keep that in mind, like if you are a newer reader, because like even though I have 20 years of experience, like a lot of these minors, I'm like, like I'm not too sure about the visual significance But that being said, I'll check out the book and see what the intention is behind that. So next up, I'll show you guys the coins, and the color scheme here seems to be orange and blue. And here we have some more little creatures. And so coins are, of course, the pentacle suit. And we see them. And again, I don't know the symbolism behind all of these creatures. I'm sure it's going to be explained in the book. But again, definitely a very Marseille style approach to the minor arcana. If I'm going to make some kind of assumption here, I would probably assume that it would be there's something about the creatures that is intentional and symbolic. But again, I don't really know what that would be. I would need to take a look. Interesting take on the Five of Pentacles. If you recall, the Five of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite-Smith, we see two figures outside of a church. They're like looking very homeless and disabled, and they're like being rejected from the church, and it's snowy and it sucks. And so this is an interesting take on that. Very interesting. So I'll skip some of those. It looks like the common theme here is that the 10 is going to be this fully grown creature. And then, ooh, this is awesome. So the Queen and King of Coins are fucking badass. These are so cool. I love this. This beautiful detail work in the art. I love the kind of like the balance here between shape and line. Like she is just so clearly such a talented artist. Like I'm obsessed. These are so beautiful. Love the fabric designs here. That's so cool. I love it. So let's see the Page of Coins. All right. So let's move on to the Wands and the Swords. So those are the cups and the coins. So the wands, it looks like there's birds, which is an interesting choice. And let's see, for swords, it looks like it is cats, which is also an interesting choice. And so I'm sure there's a reason for that within the symbolism and that symbolic language of the Chinese folklore mythology. So I'm going to have to look into that. In the West, that probably isn't associations that I would make personally. I actually, if I was to make a deck working from my own Western symbolism, the birds I definitely would more associate with swords, since I would associate the swords with the air, and the felines I would definitely more associate with that wands energy. That being said, I'm not too sure what the correspondence is or the symbolism is within the Chinese context. So who knows? I'm sure there is a reason for that. And so I'm excited to read what that is in the book. So let's see. So I'll show you guys some of the wands, some birds. It looks like the color scheme here is this kind of like reddish blue with some gray. It looks very similar-ish to the major arcana color scheme, but I would say this red is a bit more orange. The red in the major is a bit more of the bluish, kind of like, yeah, a bit more of a bluish purpley red. Here we see a red that is a bit more orange. Let's see, Five of Wands. This is an interesting one. I think this one makes sense for the meaning. Let's see, Six of Wands. Seven of Wands. Let's see. I'm gonna skip some of these. I'm really loving the court cards in this deck. So Queen of Wands and King of Wands. I'm not too sure what kind of birds these are, but I'm excited to read the little bookie, which I'm sure will tell me. And maybe I can do another video on this deck once I've read all about the Chinese mythology and the Chinese storytelling behind these, and once I test it out and read with it a little bit. If you guys are interested in that, let me know, because I think it's really only possible to know a deck and if it works like once you actually read with it and see how does that play out in the span of a reading, and how do the cards talk to each other, and like what's the energy of the deck, what's the deck's personality. So I'm really curious to see how that's gonna go. So Ace of Swords. So the sword suit for some reason is being associated with cats, which I don't really know why, but I'm sure there's a reason for that within the Chinese system. And these cats are just like so beautiful. I'm not going to show the 3 of Swords, so it looks really sad. 4 of Swords, so I drew this earlier today. I actually really love this, like, because the 4 of Swords is all about rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. My cats definitely do this posture often. Let's see. Let's skip some of these. 6 of Swords. Interesting. I can see how this would work with the 7 of Swords, but I do still see this as a very Marseille style of deck, which again is like not always easy to read unless you know the tarot really well. 9 of Swords. 10. Okay. Yeah, and I'm loving the court cards in this deck. Beautiful. The Queen and the King. Pretty interesting. Yeah, and the color scheme here obviously is it's kind of muted, purpley red. And I love the artwork. Obviously, it's stunning. And I'm curious to see how it reads. Like, how does this actually, you know, work in a reading? How do the cards... Ooh, okay, so if we're talking about deck stuff, it's very thick. These cards are very thick. And so if you're thinking about shuffling, like, personally, I like the weight of these. They're a bit of a... It feels like a bit of a matte finish. So let me just show you in comparison to, so I do think a deck can be too thick. I don't know if this is going to be that for me. I guess we'll find out. But I'll show you just a contrast with some other decks that I use. Let me just pull these. I've got like a bazillion decks on the side of just off cam at the moment. So let's just give you guys an example. So it's even bigger than the Modern Witch Tarot. So this is right next to me as I just sit there with my tarot cards. So this is the Modern Witch Tarot. You can see that it's like thick and even, oh my God, my cats are having a meltdown. You guys be nice. So you can see this kind of thick here with the gold. And I think, is this thicker? Let's find out. I think it's about the same thickness. Sorry, the sun is kind of like, so I feel like it's the same thickness. Let's see if it actually is. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same thickness as the Modern Witch Tarot. So that's something to keep in mind. It is, yeah, a matte finish. In terms of the size of the card, it's bigger than the Modern Witch Tarot. It's a bit wider. So let me give you guys an example. So as you can see, oh, so you can't see, hold on. As you can see, this deck, the Trickster's Journey, is a little bit bigger than the Modern Witch Tarot. So it is definitely a bigger deck in your hand. So to compare that with the Rider-Waite-Smith, let's just pull a random card. So to compare the size with the Rider-Waite-Smith, so this is the typical Rider-Waite-Smith size, which is smaller, at least I think it's smaller, it feels smaller than the Modern Witch. So let me actually just take a look at that. Yeah, so the Modern Witch Tarot is just slightly bigger. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's like slightly bigger. Yeah, it's slightly bigger. You can't really see because it's like white on white. Actually, let me turn that so you guys can see. Yeah. So you can see the Modern Witch Tarot is slightly bigger than the typical Rider-Waite-Smith. And then this is even bigger than the Rider-Waite-Smith. So on one hand, that's great because then the artwork retains its integrity. But if you have smaller hands, like, because it's interesting, like, as I actually read with this deck the most, there's a bunch of different reasons for that. Part of it is because I think the symbolism is beautiful. Like, it's very versatile. It speaks volumes. And I like that it's not Marseille. Like, I like that. Let me just pull a random card here. I like that the 6 of Cups is a scene with some shit happening. And it's not just like 6 cups chilling in the abyss. I like that. Personally, I love that. This is the first deck that did that. I dig it. I also like that this is, so even though it's like, it's thinner, it's smaller, this to me feels perfect in my hands. I'm like not a huge person, but I'm not a small person either. I'm like 5'6". And so like to me, I shuffle this easy. It's also, just to give you an example, comparing these 3 decks in terms of thickness. Look at that. Way thicker Modern Witch. And then the Trickster's Journey is also going to have that added thickness, right? And so do keep that in mind if you're considering this deck. Personally, for me, this is the perfect size for a deck. And actually, it's part of why I use this all the time. I don't use this as much as I would like to. And I think one of the reasons for that is like, you can see that I'm like struggling to kind of hold it. Do you know what I mean? And like, so even though I have nails, like the tip of my finger is like not able to really reach around in a way that's comfortable. So I actually have to kind of like, you guys can kind of see that, right? So I have to like kind of, it's hard. So I can't hold the whole thing with my fingers because my hand is like too small for the deck. And so it makes it very challenging and kind of annoying to shuffle this deck. Like I do still use it because it's beautiful and it's cool. But I do see myself having the same problem with this deck, especially since it's even wider than the Modern Witch. So like, as you can see, my fingers like can't even make it through. And I'm not like a tiny person. I would say I'm average sized woman, 5'6", and like my, you know, hand can't even go around. And so that's something to keep in mind, you know, as a tarot reader, but also if you're thinking about creating a tarot deck, like, you know, like I do find it a bit unwieldy. Like it's just massive kind of. And so like my hand is like hurting right now if I'm trying to like shuffle this. And so that's definitely something I would love it if deck creators kept in mind a bit more, like the experience of the tarot reader, the experience of shuffling, the experience of how does it feel in your hand. Honestly, like that's part of why I love this deck is like my fingers can go around, if you guys can see that. Like my whole pad of my finger can go around the deck. And so it's a lot easier to maneuver in my hand. It feels comfortable. I can do this and I don't feel like I'm gonna spray cards everywhere. Whereas with this, I feel like, you know, I can't even do it. I have to hold it this way. And I can't even hold it this way. The cards are gonna fall. Like I'm not gonna do it because then the cards will fall, but I can't even hold it because my fingers can't go around the whole side. So I think I've made my point. But that's definitely something to keep in mind. Like, so I have to use this with both hands. It's too big to just do with one hand. And so that's a lot of why, like, so the hand feel of a deck is important, something to keep in mind. And I know a lot of the time artists, like, they don't want to like reduce the artwork because artwork is so beautiful. But as a reader, it is something to think about, like, what's the hand feel of a deck? And if maybe you have bigger hands than me, maybe it's you don't give a fuck, and like that's cool. Or maybe you don't shuffle in that way. Maybe you shuffle by like swirling them all, like, you know, and that's cool. And so if that's how you shuffle, then you're probably not going to give a shit. But for me, I like how something feels in my hand, and that definitely impacts how much I'm going to be working with a deck. And I think that's part of why this is my fave, because it's like it's small, so it fits in my hand. It's not too thick. It feels sturdy, but it's not so thick that it's like enormous. Just to show you guys that again, like that difference. It's like, you know, kind of big difference in terms of heftiness. Anyway, there's a few of you here. Is there any questions about anything? Is there anything you want to see with the deck before I log off and finish my my thoughts? Speak now or forever hold your peace. If any of you guys are just logging on, was there any card that you wanted to see? I'll give you guys a sec. And if not, then there you go. But the deck does come with this book that is like so beautiful. Okay, interesting. So the Minor Arcana, I'm actually really excited to read about this. So it says Minor Arcana cups, black tortoise, coins, blue dragon, wands, red bird, swords, white tiger. So I'm curious what that symbolism is going to look like. And there's the characters for anyone who does read Chinese, if that's of interest to you. And so I'm sure there's a lot of intentional symbolism behind that within this framework that I'm really stoked to kind of dive into and understand. Because it seems like this is a really, like just a different framework than I would use, because I'm not Chinese, obviously, right? So I'm just excited to read this and see what the vibes are. So just for instance, like opening it up to a different random Minor Arcana, 6 of coins, I'll show you guys. 6 of coins, and like the design here is just beautiful. But what it says about the art: a sun skink with its characteristic orange racing stripe basks under a money tree, head tilted back proudly. The branches above are laden with, and then there's these different symbols, coins that wish the bearer long life and riches. And so, yeah, if you are familiar with these cultural touchstones, this will obviously be really meaningful to you, probably like immediately. And his little face is so cute. He does look kind of proud now that I think about it. Pretty interesting. 6 of Pentacles. And it's interesting because the 6 of Pentacles, yeah, it is about giving and receiving. And so I'm kind of curious how that is going to be manifest here with this particular symbolism and within this framework. So I'm excited to read this book. Like, I'm very rarely excited about tarot books, but to me this just, I know I've said this like 20 times in this video, but this to me just seems very intelligent and very like interesting, like well-measured take on the tarot. And unfortunately, I do see a lot of people who are like trying to make the tarot something that it isn't, or like they're trying to like squish a like a round thing into a square. Do you know what I mean? Like that phrase, like I do see that a lot. And there's a lot of decks that are beautiful, but like they're kind of unreadable. Like you can't really read with them because they're just these beautiful things that, you know, the meaning doesn't really make sense. But it looks like in this that those meanings are worked with thoughtfully, but just in a very different way that we're used to seeing in the tarot. So I'm really excited to read this book. It looks really beautiful. And I like how this book feels in my hand. Like, to me, this is a perfect size. I feel like I can throw this in my purse and just like bring it along with me, and just like read on the streetcar or something. Like, it's just, I love this. Like, I love that it's not hardcover. I love that it's like, it has, you know, some weight to it, but it also feels like it would be safe if I threw it in my bag. It wouldn't just like, the edges wouldn't bend. Do you know what I mean? And it has these like, yeah. Anyway, since no one's asking any questions about this deck, I'm gonna log off. But thank you so much for coming along to my first YouTube unboxing with this really beautiful tarot deck and book by Jia Sung. It looks really beautiful, and it came in this little box, which was in this little box, which has this really cool magnetic thing. So the only thing that I'm kind of like, so this little velvet, you are going to have to like wipe it off of your deck because it is like kind of shedding, but it's not the end of the world. But I'm like soaked for this. I think this is really cool. And yeah, I'll let you guys know how it feels to read with it. And if any of you guys end up picking this deck up, do let me know. Oh no. So be careful because I just like ripped this by bending it, but I feel like you should be able to bend the box. Oh no. Yeah. Whoops. So, oh my God. Yeah, that just cracked actually. This just cracked by me bending it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Shit. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So be gentle with the box. It will crack if you're not. So if you guys pick this up, let me know. Let me know if this deck looks cool to you. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. If you end up buying it, let me know. If you end up reading with it, let me know. If you come from a Chinese background and you're seeing this and you're like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, like definitely put some of the stuff that you've noticed in the comments. Like I would love to learn more about what this deck means to you and like what this brings up for you, because it's like just seems like a really intelligent mix of different cultural things, like the Chinese folklore with something from the West, which is the tarot. So I'm really excited to see how those things are blended in a very intelligent way by the artist. So thanks for watching, friends. And if anyone else wants to gift me a tarot deck, please do. My email is ceo@sabrinamscott.com. And of course, if you don't know about it, I do have a bunch of courses on the tarot, some masterclasses, as well as a really in-depth course called Tarot Without Bullshit. If you're curious about any of that stuff, some of it is available on my website, sabrinamscott.com. Tarot Without Bullshit, you're going to have to reach out to me specifically, ceo@sabrinamscott.com, to be let in if that's something that you want to do. I also got a tarot bundle right now where all of my self-study like masterclasses on the tarot are available for like $600 off or something like that if you buy them all together at once. So if that's something you're interested in, pop me a hello and I will help you out. And so without further ado, that is my unboxing of the Trickster's Journey tarot deck and guidebook. I look forward to diving deeper into this deck, and I'm so appreciative that this was a gift that I got. So thank you so much to the artist. You're awesome, and I'm so excited this deck is finally out in the world. All right, friends, take care and have a lovely day. Bye.